Hello, welcome to another episode of Coffee Talk. This is a podcast by Callstack in which I, Łukasz Śledziński, drink a coffee and talk with my friends from Callstack. Today with me is Michał Pierzchała, who is our head of technology. Michał, one question to you. Do you have your coffee already?
No. I only have water.
So we should stop now. And
Damn it.
we're gonna wait for Michał to get his coffee going, because this is a coffee talk, a podcast in which we drink coffee and we talk. So let me ask you again, Michał, what's your coffee? Do you have your coffee already?
Yeah, I have my coffee.
Cool.
Yeah.
What is it?
Here.
What kind of coffee do you have?
I have a pour over with from Rwanda. It's pretty decent, fruity. I like it this way.
Awesome. Let's get this party started. So in today's episode, I have Michał. Like I said, he's our head of technology for React Native, and today we're gonna discuss open source software. So OSS in short. Michał, I don't know if you remember, but last year I joined Callstack, and you were actually one of the guys who did an interview with me. And on that interview, in like the whole recruitment process, we have this one suggestion, we have this one nice to have requirement. It's nice to have open source experience. And back then, a year ago, I did not have any. I did. So let me explain.
And we still hired you.
No, let me explain what I did, which led you to hire me. I dug up the one contribution, one fork of React Native maps that I did like 2 or 3 years before that. I looked it over. I looked at the main repository. They didn't have those changes yet. So I polished it up and I filed a PR with my changes from 3 years previously. And that got merged. And that way I could actually say on my application to Callstack that I have OSS experience.
You have a contribution. Nice.
Yeah, it was quite a good contribution, to be honest, to React Native Maps, which is like a proper React Native library used by a lot of people.
Awesome.
So
it was started by Airbnb, right?
I think so, yes. And maybe at the time when I wrote my changes, maybe at that time it was still maintained by Airbnb. But a year ago from now, it wasn't. So it was already like a community project. So this is one way of starting open source. Like someone is writing on your job application that you should probably have some experience. What was your story? How did you start with OSS?
Okay, so my story is a bit different. I didn't fork any repositories, but I've actually read one article that said, "Hey, you gotta follow these people in the front-end software engineering space on Twitter." So I did, and apparently Dan Abramov was one of those people. And one day, it was almost 6 years ago, he tweeted that, hey, there is a interesting contribution opportunity in Jest to in this library called Jest, which I didn't use at the time. And how about you try it? So I said to myself, hey, I would like to learn testing, and Jest is a library for testing. It seems pretty decent. It was already heavily used at this time, and I contributed this feature, which was interruptible watch mode. Yeah, so that's why that's how I started, and this just started a whole role of contributions in multiple projects, but mostly Jest and React
React
Dom.
Native testing
Actually.
library.
Oh, this was way later, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, so we have my story, which is very like common. You fork library because you need something from it that it doesn't have.
It's a good
We have
story.
your story, which is following famous people on Twitter and like asking what they need and doing that. What are the other like entry points to the open source space? What else should inspire you? What else should you follow to just get involved?
Apart from following people, I think the most important thing is to get excited. But shouldn't we start with why we want to do it? Or
Yeah, let's do why then.
do you think it's even important to have a
I think so, yeah, because when
reason?
if you answer the why question, then it's not if you should do it, but how you get onboarded, right? So I
Yeah.
started because I needed something from it. I needed this library to do this one specific thing, and it didn't. So I made it do it. Another thing why is like you just want to play around with ideas, right? You have a
Sure.
library and you say I can do it better, like I can do it faster, I can do it better, and you just fork it, you just create a PR request to the main library, and you might just do something better than original authors.
Yeah, and for example, why I started is because I think I started to be bored at work, and I wanted to learn something outside of my comfort zone. So I would say some learning experience, learning in public. That's a interesting thing that you can learn something, show your not only your success but also your mistakes, your thought process. It's all there in the open source. If you go on GitHub, track our comments, contributions, commits, pull requests, reviews. It's all there, and you can basically see how our thought process evolved. And
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't know if I would like anybody to analyze this for me, but yeah, this is something interesting to look in retrospect.
when you said that, like this got me thinking that this was the reason that I waited so long with publishing my changes, because like I had my changes, it worked for me, but
Oh
I
yeah,
didn't want anyone for like 2 years to look at them, because I didn't want to spend the time to polish it up and like make it readable for everyone else. But actually, this is a good working experience, so that you make your code not only for you and for your project, but as a public API to work across different use cases.
right. But there is I think there is one crucial thing that you've touched is that you had a project that worked for you. You fixed
Yeah.
it, and it worked for you. So I don't care if it works for anybody else. But then something happened, and you decided to give back to the repository, which actually involves the actual work. So you need to
Yeah,
send the
this is
pull
a two-step
request.
process.
Yeah, you need to
And
clean up your code. Why would you do that, right? So
yeah, like
there's
make it
gotta be a
work,
reason.
make it fast, make it readable. Make it work is the first step, and some people stop on this step, make it work, and move on. Uh, are there any like cool people in the community you can meet in some open source projects?
I mean, there is plenty. Through Jest contributions, I was able to meet its main contributors like Christoph or he how he changed his name from Aaron Abramoff no, he is Aaron Abramov, right? So there were two Abramovs at Facebook, and he was this other Abramov. He had many problems with this. Cool
Okay.
guys. He's working on backends mostly, but I learned a lot from him. Also met Dan Abramov. Also met a lot of cool people in the React Native space through meetups, and it's all through open source, right? So definitely a great way to meet very interesting, passion driven people that care about their users, their experience, and are usually pretty smart. Like when
Yeah,
you
I
end
think
up in
that's
a room of people like this, you start to realizing, damn. Um,
Yeah, there is this saying, if you are the smartest person in the room, you should change the room. So you change the room into the open source space, which has like abundance of talent there, like
oh yeah.
a lot of smart people. Like Linux is open source, and this guy who created Linux, he also created Git. So like you don't have to look further than that. Like
I heard he made it from his toilet.
okay.
But anyway,
Moving on. So we have my story, we have your story, and we know why you should. So then we should ask how to get started, how to get excited. So mine was a library was missing feature. I went ahead and made it. Yours was famous people ask you to do it. What are the other ways to get excited about some project to the point that you want to get involved?
there are many ways, but as I've already mentioned, the most important thing is to get excited about something, about some piece of technology or solving some problem that could be done through open source, or contributing to someone else's solution that solves this problem. Another thing that I find really interesting and fun is Hacktoberfest. I even have a T-shirt. So we all know that developers do.
Yeah, sorry.
Uh,
For people listening and not watching on YouTube, Mihal has actually a T-shirt on himself
oh yeah, I'm wearing it.
that
It's
spells
from
out Hacktoberfest.
2019, and it's in this disco Miami cyber 80s theme that was apparently popular these days, and it was before
In
pandemic.
2019.
Yeah,
Uh,
great times. So we all why we do Hacktoberfest. The easy answer is to get free T-shirts. Uh,
yeah, beer and pizza.
but actually it's a great initiative that for a month in October, um, people contribute a lot of contribute their code to a lot of libraries. They end up in improving documentation, which is also fine, unless um, it's exploited in some way. But we definitely dig it. We also organized a few Hacktoberfest meetups or
Session.
hacking sessions in the past. Yeah.
Yeah. So
What else? How could you get started?
like I would have the same idea. Go to some meetups, meet some other people that have similar mindset to yours, and start hacking, start working on something together. Like yeah, and that's all that's needed. You can go to the conferences and you can listen about some other open source libraries, and you might get excited about those, and like you go home and try to solve some of their issues or try to hack some additional feature to it.
Mm.
I think we have that section covered. So another question that I have for you, and this is a big one, so don't get scared, but this is a big one.
I wanted to ask you.
I want to ask this question because you have much more credibility in that space that I do. how the heck it all works. We have huge systems being built for years, for decades, like Linux, and it somehow ties in together. It somehow works, and it somehow gets better over time. So for me, going into open source space, when I file an issue or I even contribute something, I don't know what's going on behind the curtain there. Uh, how are the projects maintained? What is the like project management process of open source libraries?
Oh, I think this is a very broad topic. I have experience only with a few, and some organizations have perfectly open process for discussion, like Linux, for example. They have a mailing list discussion forum to talk about where to go, how to do stuff, not only about code. So I'm not really experienced in this area. There's also React Native style of open source, which is this weird Facebook style open source where they're actually having this giant monorepo or one of monorepos that they have their projects like React Native, React, and many more, and they sync with GitHub. So GitHub is not like a first citizen. It's not where the development is usually happening. It's like a mix, but there's
Yeah,
also
actually, it's worth to mention actually because I don't know if everyone knows it, but React Native is actually built from master branch from to the Facebook product. It's not Facebook doesn't use the current stable release of React Native. They use whatever is actually on the repository right
on the
now.
main branch.
Correct?
Yeah. But there is also a bunch of other projects that are just organized around multiple people without some sense of organization. Like I think style components.
Yeah, so maybe
Work this way.
maybe briefly. I'm a new guy. I start up a new repository. I have this amazing idea about the project that I want to do. Who am I then? I'm an owner of the repository. What is my role? What is my title in the OSS community for that specific project?
Oh yeah, I mean there are no titles. Like it's all. It all depends on how you look at it. But if you have some piece of software that you like to open source, just do it, and you're now a creator of it. If you happen to maintain it over time, you're usually a maintainer. There, maintenance is a different problem that needs different solutions. So it managing a open source project, like you're actually like a product owner or a project manager
Yeah.
or multiple things and a developer. You doing an open source project is usually mixing those roles, and the more popular the project gets, the bigger it gets, the more time it consumes. So people tend to organize in some way. They tend to encourage other people to contribute. Like the way I joined Jest, for example, someone not technically from the Jest project, but from the same company, asked for contributions, and here I came. And in time I became a contributor to the project, and then because I did a lot, I became a core contributor
Yeah.
because I contributed to the core idea of the project
And
and the way
then
we
6 years
organized it.
later, you hired me to Callstack, and you were a senior slash expert back then. And right now, you are our head of technology, and you are responsible for OSS at Callstack. So maybe we can switch to that topic and talk about some repositories that we actually maintain in our company.
Oh yeah, so there is a
We have
lot.
many.
Yeah, there is a lot.
I don't blame you if you don't know everything, but I have a list, and I can like double check if you're correct with your
Yeah, I think
listing.
one of the most popular are React Native Paper, our the UI component library implementing material design, and we have a maintainer for that. We have a team of people that like to contribute to it either in their free time or as a part of their projects. And there's something going on there. Anytime, basically. We have testing library, which
Which is your child?
yeah, actually, it originated as a part of solving a problem for one of our clients, and we figured out a way to open source it and transform into a official testing library.
Slight off topic on my
Library.
end. The first time I actually got to know you publicly, not to know you, but I listened to you on React Native radio when you were discussing React Native testing library. I don't know how many years ago, but
Jeez.
yeah, we
Okay.
have other ones. We have Repack, which is an effort to use
Webpack on React
yeah,
Native.
yeah, instead of Metro. Uh, what other things? React
Yeah.
Native Builder Bob, a library that allows you to create libraries for React Native from
Yeah,
scratch.
I think we could sum it up that we have a lot of open source project because like open source is in our DNA, and uh, as Callstack turns to attract people that have this similar mindset of being cool, being okay with contributing to open source. So it's great to be around this kind of people. So I always enjoy it, and we do our open source chores or feature development in many different ways. Sometimes it's through client engagement. Sometimes it's in our free time. Sometimes it's a dedicated time that we have through our R&D program. So yeah, that's how it looks like
Yeah,
from our end.
to all of our listeners, go to GitHub, go to Twitter, find us, contribute to our repositories, apply for job at Callstack when you do. At the same time, Michał Pierzchała, thank you so much for joining me for
Yeah,
this
thank you.
for another coffee talk. When we drink coffee and we talk, and today we talked about open source space, generally at Callstack in React Native space. Thank you for everyone for listening, and see you next time.
Thank you. I ran out of my coffee, so I think that's
Yeah,
it.
me too.
Thank you.
Cheers.